I feel like growing up watching the NFL in the 2000s or mainly even part of the 2010s, we really didn't see a lot of big trades go down in the NFL landscape. But over the last 5 years, we have seen a ton of blockbuster deals take place. And that's what I want to do for today's video. I want to grade the biggest NFL trades over the last 5 years. And obviously, for some of these trades, we have seen a lot of time pass from when they were made. So we can use the power of hindsight to give a letter grade for each team in these participating deals. And like always, let me know in the comments what you guys would give some of these grades if you agree with me or if you disagree with me. Let's get into it. So we're going to start off with one that went down during the night of the 2022 NFL draft, and that was the Philadelphia Eagles trading for A.J. Brown. And the Eagles gave up a 2022 first round pick. The Titans took Treylon Burks with that deal, and then a 2022 third round pick that was subsequently traded to the New York Jets. And for the Philadelphia Eagles, it's an easy A+. Obviously, for the Tennessee Titans missing on this first round pick, it makes this trade look even better for Philadelphia. But A.J. Brown was turning into one of the better receivers in the NFL in an offensive scheme that really wasn't super pass heavy. He had 1,000 yards as a rookie in 2019, 1,000 yards as a sophomore in 2020, and then did have 869 yards in 2021 with Tennessee. And this was a decision head coach Mike Vrabel did not want to make. And this was a great move for Philadelphia to get a true wide receiver one for Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia. In 2022, A.J. Brown turned into one of the best receivers in the NFL. He played 17 games. He had 88 catches for 1,496 yards and 11 touchdowns, and this looked like a no-brainer move for Philadelphia. They end up making the Super Bowl that year. 2023, A.J. Brown followed up with another elite season and an even better one than his first year in Philly. He had 158 targets, 106 receptions, 18 more than what he did the year prior. He did have 40 less yards, though. He had 7 touchdowns and was still one of the best receivers in the league, and A.J. Brown has been very good this year as well. This was a home run trade for the Eagles. That's an easy A+. As for the Tennessee Titans, yeah, this is an easy F. This move eventually got general manager John Robinson fired about 8 months later. We know Mike Vrabel was not brought back after the 2023 season. They took Treylon Burks with that first round pick at 18. They tried replicating what the Minnesota Vikings did when they traded away Stephon Diggs, and they ended up getting Justin Jefferson in the draft. And Treylon Burks played 11 games as a rookie. He had 444 yards. It's been going downhill since. He had 16 catches for 221 yards last year. This year, injuries has plagued year number 3, and it looks like his time in Tennessee may be over. He had 4 catches this year for 34 yards, and this is an easy F for Tennessee side of things. This was the start of their downfall to what we're currently seeing them today as one of the worst teams in the NFL. So before we get back into the video, I want to give a word from today's sponsor, Underdog. NFL season is full swing. The playoffs are right around the corner, and Underdog is the best way to play fantasy sports. And you can use my code SROS, SROS, to get a 50% deposit match up to $1,000. You can use their pick'em feature that I've been playing all year long. I love using it on Sundays and in primetime games. And you just basically pick higher or lower in a certain player statistics. It could be passing yards, rushing yards, touchdowns. And you can do 2 entries up to 8 entries, and you can 100 times your money. Like I said, I've been playing it all year long, and you can get in on the action with my code SROS, SROS, or click the link in the description. And thank you to Underdog for sponsoring today's video. Next up, I want to talk about when the Seattle Seahawks traded their franchise quarterback to the Denver Broncos in March of 2022. This sent Russell Wilson with a 4th round pick to the Broncos for a 2022 first round pick, which ended up being Charles Cross, a 2022 second round pick, in which they took Boye Mafe out of Minnesota. And then they also received a 2023 first round pick, and Denver was terrible that year. In the first year with Russell Wilson, they were able to take Devon Witherspoon with the 5th overall pick, a 2023 second round pick, 37th overall, which ended up being Derek Hall. They also got Noah Fant, Shelby Harris, and Drew Lock in this deal. It was a haul. And for Seattle, it's an easy A+. I know it hurt trading away your franchise quarterback and one of the greatest quarterbacks in franchise history, but he was not the same player when he got traded to Denver. Devon Witherspoon is one of the best young corners in the league. Charles Cross is having a great year 3 and is turning it into a cornerstone offensive tackle in this league. I know Noah Fant or Shelby Harris or Drew Lock really haven't turned to much for you guys, but this was still a no-brainer deal in hindsight. As for Denver, it's sadly an F. This was one of the worst deals they have made in the 21st century. Russell Wilson, as a 34-year-old in his first year in Denver, went 4-11 under Nathaniel Hackett. He threw for 3,524 passing yards, 16 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions. The touchdowns were down from his final year in Seattle. Interceptions were up. yards were down, every advanced statistic was down as well. In 2023, under new head coach Sean Payton, Russ did do better. He went 7-8 that year. He threw 26 touchdowns and 8 interceptions, and the Denver Broncos did not want him in the slightest, and they were willing to cut him. That resulted into an $85 million dead cap this year. They were paying Russell Wilson, or taking a hit of $85 million for him not to be on the roster. That's how badly they wanted him off their team. And he has been a productive quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but I don't think he's too much of a different quarterback than he was in his final year in Denver. But yeah, this is an easy F for the Denver Broncos. They gave up a haul for Russell Wilson, and he was basically a fraction of what they expected him to be. We're going to stay on the topic of massive quarterback trades, and this is the one that sent Deshaun Watson from the Houston Texans to the Cleveland Browns. He was traded with a 2024 6th round pick to the Browns for a 2022 first round pick that ended up getting moved to Philadelphia for pick 15. They ended up taking Kenyon Green. They ended up getting John Mechie out of this deal, Christian Harris, Thomas Booker, Damian Pierce, Will Anderson Jr., the 3rd overall pick in the 2023 draft. They also got Kalen Bullock, Tank Dell, and Kamari Lassiter, and also Cade Stover in this deal. Yeah, it was a haul for Deshaun Watson, who is not even a fraction of what he was in Houston. He is not the same quarterback whatsoever, and Cleveland gave him the largest guaranteed contract in quarterback history. We'll start this off for Cleveland. Can I give it an F-? This is arguably the worst trade in NFL history. This has been an absolute disaster. Obviously, Deshaun Watson came with a massive PR nightmare for what he did in Houston towards the end of that tenure. He didn't play at all in the 2021 season, and he has a record in Cleveland of 9-10 right now. He ended up going 1-6 this year before suffering a season-ending Achilles injury. And for somebody that led the NFL in passing yards, throwing for 4,823 yards, 33 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions in 2020, it's just not the same quarterback anymore. And I made my quarterback tier list video. He was in the last tier. I had him as the 30th ranked quarterback in the NFL. He has a dead cap of $200 million this year. $200 million. Next year, it's $172 million. And in 2026, it's $99 million. He's got a $70+ million cap hit over the next 2 years. This is arguably the worst contract in the league as well. This was a disaster for Cleveland. I'm really sorry, Browns fans. As for Houston, it is an A+. They got off of Deshaun Watson at the right time. They were able to eventually get their franchise quarterback in CJ Stroud. Getting guys like Kamari Lassiter, Kenyon Green, Will Anderson can be foundational pieces for this team's future. Tank Dell as well. I know these guys have suffered some injuries, but this is more than they could have asked for what Deshaun Watson ended up being. This is one of the best trades in Houston Texans history, and I'm still in disbelief on how bad Deshaun Watson became. I thought 2022, you know what, he suffered some injuries. I thought he was going to be okay in 2023. He really wasn't great in 2023. He only played 6 games. He's been hurt every single year in Cleveland or suspended. It's been more than a disaster. It's just been an absolute catastrophe. All right, so the last 2 trades we talked about that were quarterback deals ended up being very lopsided. The next one is a very win-win trade, and it's one of my favorite trades that we're going to talk about in this video. This was the one that sent Matthew Stafford, the longtime Detroit Lion, to Los Angeles, to the Rams. This deal sent Matthew Stafford to the Rams for a 2021 3rd round pick, a 1st round pick in 2022, which ended up being traded to the Vikings so they can move up and get Jameson Williams with the 12th overall pick. They also ended up getting a 1st round pick in the 2023 draft, which then they traded down to get Jahmyr Gibbs at number 12 in the 2023 draft and Sam Laporta at 34. And oh yeah, Jared Goff as well, who has been a great quarterback under Dan Campbell and Ben Johnson. So what my motto is for these trades, if you make a massive trade and it results in a ring, it's an A+. No matter what, even if the player doesn't live up to expectations, it's an A+. Because the goal in any sports league is to win a championship. And the LA Rams did that in the 2021 season, where they went 12-5, where they were able to beat the Cardinals, the Bucks, the Niners, and the Bengals to win that Super Bowl 23-20. Stafford in that year went 12-5 in the regular season, 41 touchdowns, 17 interceptions. I know that led the league, but he was a massive improvement over Jared Goff under the Sean McVay offense. Obviously, it hasn't been great since. They ended up missing out on the playoffs in 2022. Stafford had notable injuries that year. In 2023, they lost in the wildcard weekend to Detroit. And this year, it's looking like the Rams could definitely make the playoffs. Either way, it doesn't matter. You win a ring in the first year of that deal, you do this deal 11 times out of the next 10 possibilities. And for Detroit, it's getting an A. I will bump it up to an A+ if they win a ring this year or any year under Jared Goff. But obviously, this is a fantastic return because Jared Goff has been a positive quarterback in Detroit. Obviously, their first year in Detroit, under Dan Campbell's first year, they went 3 10-1. But over the last 3 years, Goff has been one of the more productive quarterbacks under Ben Johnson in this Detroit Lions offense. 4,400 passing yards, 29 touchdowns, 7 interceptions in 2022, 30 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, and 4,500 yards in 2023. And he's still going this year on 33 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, and over 4,000 yards. They've been the best team in the NFC all year long. And obviously being able to add somebody like Jamison Williams, who's one of the better wide receiver twos in the league, getting Jahmyr Gibbs, who's one of the best running backs in the league, and he's only been in the NFL for 2 years. And Sam Laporta had a historic rookie season at the tight end position. I know he hasn't been great this year, but that's a home run of a draft pick. As Brad Holmes, the GM of this team, did a fantastic job hitting on the draft picks that you got in trading away one of your best players in franchise history in Matthew Stafford. This was a win-win deal. Let's stay on the topic of the LA Rams making big deals. Back in October of 2019, one of the further trades in history we're going to talk about in this video, they acquired Jalen Ramsey from the Jacksonville Jaguars in exchange for a 2020 first-round pick, which ended up being Clavon Chason. They got a 2021 first-round pick, which ended up being Travis Etienne, and a 2021 fourth. I know Jalen Ramsey isn't in LA anymore, but he spent 3 years there, and I'm going to give this trade for them an A. He wasn't the main reason why they won the Super Bowl in 2021, but he was a huge contributor throughout the course of that season. In 2020, he was the 9th-ranked corner, according to PFF. In 2021, he was the 1st-ranked corner, and in 2022, the 3rd-ranked corner. He was elite during his time in Los Angeles. He was an all-pro first-team member in 2020 and in 2021 in those years, as he was just locked down, and that's exactly what LA needed. This was a time when LA was just never drafting guys in the first round. Obviously, they made this trade. They made the Stafford trade. Who cares? They won a ring. It's an A. As for the Jaguars, I'm going to give them a generous C in this deal. I could have definitely gone lower. Clavon Chason has been arguably a bust in this league. He spent 4 years in Jacksonville, accumulating 5 sacks in those 4 years, and is now currently playing with the Raiders. As Travis Etienne seemed like somewhat of a reach at the time, but they wanted to pair up Trevor Lawrence with his college running back from Clemson in Etienne. He didn't play at all in his rookie year, having a season-ending injury before that season started. In 2022, though, he was a productive running back, over 1,100 yards. Last year, he had 1,000 yards in the 2023 season. This year, though, he has fallen off a cliff and does not look like the same guy he was in the first 2 years in the league. But since he gave them 2 productive years, that's why I'm going to give it a C. And I think they sold high on Jalen Ramsey during a time where they were entering a rebuild, because Ramsey was going to get a new contract as well. And I just feel like the Jaguars could have done a lot better in this deal, but they could have definitely done worse if Etienne was just a complete bust, and he wasn't. Next up, I want to talk about a trade that is currently ongoing, and a lot of people are changing their opinions on this year compared to what they were calling this trade last year. And this is the Chicago Bears trading down from the #1 overall pick to Carolina. They move up to get Bryce Young in the 2023 draft. The Panthers take Bryce Young #1 overall, and Chicago ends up getting DJ Moore in this deal, Darnell Wright. They traded the original pick that ended up being Brendan Strange for Tyreek Stevenson on the night of the 2023 draft. And they also ended up with Caleb Williams, their franchise quarterback, in this deal. For the Bears, this is an A, because I know Caleb Williams hasn't been great this year, maybe to his too high expectations he had going into the year, but he still looks like a franchise quarterback in my opinion. The highs are there, and I still think he's got the arm talent to be the guy for Chicago in the long term. You also add in DJ Moore, who's been a good receiver. Tyreek Stevenson has been a good corner. Darnell Wright has been a good offensive tackle. This is still a very good trade for Chicago, no matter how you look at Caleb Williams. And if I was grading this trade for the Panthers going into this year, it would have probably been around a D, but Bryce Young has looked productive this season. And in my 2023 redraft, I said the Texans would take CJ Stroud over Bryce Young, and a lot of Panthers fans in the comments were disagreeing with that, so they may disagree with my grade being a C+, but I just think the haul you gave up, Stevenson, Wright, DJ Moore, and Caleb Williams for Bryce Young, C+ is very generous of me in my opinion, because while Bryce Young has looked good over the last couple of weeks against Arizona and Philly, Tampa, Kansas City, and the Giants, and it's looking like benching him was the right move, and he looks way more confident and is making some very tough throws over there, I still think if the Panthers had a chance to redo this trade, they definitely would have. So I'm going to give it a C+ because I was high on Bryce Young going into the draft. He was my QB1. I still believe in him to be a franchise quarterback, but from what we've seen so far, I can't give it any higher grade than a C+. The next trade I want to talk about that sent Davante Adams to Las Vegas from Green Bay. He teamed up with his former quarterback in college, Derek Carr, over there. This deal sent Adams to Las Vegas in exchange for a 2022 first-round pick, which ended up being Quay Walker, and a 2022 second-round pick, which ended up being Christian Watson. And for Vegas, I'm going to give this a B+. Davante Adams was a good receiver in his 2.5 years there. I know it didn't go to plan. They obviously moved on from Derek Carr after Adams' first year there, but they still got one of the best receivers in the league. And in that 2022 season, Adams was arguably the best receiver in the NFL. He had 1,516 receiving yards. He had 100 catches on the year. He also led the NFL in touchdowns with 14. He was a productive player again in 2023, where he had over 1,000 yards receiving. He had over 100 catches on the year, and they were able to get at least least some value for him trading him to the Jets this year. I'm sure they would have liked to get at least 1 or 2 more years out of Devontae Adams. But yeah, I think a B+ is fair because he was a very good receiver in Vegas, and this is far from one of the worst trades we're going to talk about in this video. As for Green Bay, I'm actually going to give this a B. I think the Raiders made out better in this deal because I think Christian Watson is a fine receiver in this league, but he's had injuries to start off his career. He's had productive games, and this year, and more so in his rookie year, he's looked very good when he's healthy, but injuries really derailed year number 2, as he's got about 620 yards this year, and it seemed like he was going to be the wide receiver 1 after his rookie year, but Romeo Doubs has been more involved than Jaden Reed. And Quay Walker has had over 100 tackles in the first 3 years of his career. PFF graded him as the 70th ranked linebacker out of 81 in the 2022 season, 66th in 2023, and then 62nd in 2024. So it's definitely been an up and down career so far for Quay Walker, the former Georgia Bulldog. But I think for where this team was headed, and eventually they were going to move on from Aaron Rodgers, a trade we'll get to in a little bit, this was a solid move for Green Bay, but I do think Vegas got the better end of the deal just by a little bit. And you know what? Let's talk about that trade right now. The deal that sent Aaron Rodgers to the New York Jets, a deal that was rumored for months and months. And when we finally got it done, it was like, thank God we don't have to talk about this anymore. This deal sent Rodgers to the Jets with a 2023 first round pick swap. Jets take Will McDonald. Packers took Lucas Van Ness. Packers also took Luke Musgrave with a 2023 second round pick they got in this deal. And in the 2024 draft, they got a second rounder, which ended up being Edgar and Cooper. So we're starting off with the Packers. This is an A. They traded Aaron Rodgers at the perfect time. Jordan Love has been better over the last 2 years than Aaron Rodgers has been after this trade. Obviously, it's unfair to compare last year because Aaron Rodgers did get hurt in his first game of the season, but this year, Jordan Love has been miles better than Aaron Rodgers. The Packers are looking like a playoff team, and the Jets are not going to make the playoffs this year. So the Packers also getting Edgar and Cooper, who's been one of the best rookies on the defensive side of the field this year. That is just a home run draft pick. He's got an 80 PFF grade, 6th out of 85 linebackers in the NFL, so good job for Green Bay there. I probably would rather have Will McDonald than Lucas Van Ness, so that's what is giving the Jets a D grade compared to an F. Obviously, in hindsight, it never really worked out with Aaron Rodgers. He wanted his guy, Nathaniel Hackett. He wanted his guy, Allen Lazard and Devontae Adams, and it just really hasn't worked out whatsoever. Last year, I mean, maybe if Rodgers doesn't get hurt, the Jets make the playoffs, and I did expect that to happen. But this year, a lot of people were predicting the Jets to be a playoff team, and they've been a massive disappointment. Aaron Rodgers does not look like the same quarterback he's been in the past, where he won MVPs 5 years ago. But like I said, I think Will McDonald has been a good draft pick for the Jets, and maybe if they didn't swap, who knows, maybe they don't take Will McDonald. So I think that bumps this up from an F to a D, because I have no idea where the Jets are headed going forward. If they're going to keep Rodgers, is he going to move on? Did this trade set the Jets back a couple years? Because who knows who their QB is going to be. Next up, I want to talk about the trade that sent Tyreek Hill from the Kansas City Chiefs to the Miami Dolphins. This was in exchange for a 2022 first round pick, which ended up getting moved, a 2022 second round pick, and a 2022 fourth round pick, as well as a 2023 fourth round pick and a 2023 sixth round pick. So for the Miami Dolphins, it's an easy A in this deal. Tyreek Hill had one of the greatest receiving seasons we have seen in the 2020s, in that 2023 season, his second year in Miami, but in his first year in 2022, he had 1,710 receiving yards. He had 119 receptions and 7 touchdowns, and he almost got the Triple Crown in 2023. He led the NFL in receiving yards with 1 yard fewer than 1,800, 1,799. He led the NFL in touchdowns with 13, led the NFL in yards per game with 112.4, and he had 119 receptions once again. This year, Tyreek Hill has not been the same player he looked like in those first 2 years in Miami. Obviously, it doesn't help that Tua ended up missing a notable amount of time this year, but Tyreek Hill has 70 catches, 834 yards throughout 15 games, as well as 6 touchdowns. But yeah, it's an easy A. Hill has been one of the best, if not the best receiver in the NFL during his time in Miami. It's helped out the development of Tua, so this is a 2 thumbs up, A letter grade from me. As the Chiefs grade, it's very tough to really figure this out. I'm actually going to give it a B because they ended up winning 2 Super Bowls after trading Tyreek Hill. They won it in 2022 and they win it in 2023, so it's not like they needed Tyreek Hill. And the picks they got in this deal, they hit on some, they missed on some. Their main pick they ended up getting was a 2022 first round pick, which ended up being Trent McDuffie. They had to move a couple pieces in this deal, including the 2022 fourth and the 2022 first, but Trent McDuffie has been an elite corner at times for the Kansas City Chiefs, so that was a home run of a draft pick right there. That's going to help the letter grade. But they did move that 2022 second round pick a little bit, and that ended up being Sky Moore, who has been a bust in the NFL, so that is going to hurt the grade. And they were able to use a couple picks in this deal to move up to get Rashee Rice in the 2023 NFL draft, which is looking like a good pick so far. So I think it's fair to give the Chiefs a B. I don't think them winning the Super Bowl without Tyreek really helps the grade because that's not the return and that's not the way we're grading these trades, but this was a solid return, getting guys like Trent Trent McDuffie and using assets to get up and get Rashee Rice, definitely a solid return. But Tyreek Hill was just one of the best receivers in the league. But the Chiefs had to make some tough financial decisions and had to move on from their wide receiver one. You know how to slide in a Steelers trade in here. This one ended up happening in the 2019 season. This sent Minkah Fitzpatrick, an elite safety from the Dolphins, to the Steelers, along with a 4th-round pick in 2020, which ended up being Kevin Dotson. And Kevin Dotson is a good player in this league, more so for the Rams, and got paid by them. He wasn't as good with the Steelers. And the Steelers sent a 2020 first-round pick after starting off the season 0-3, which was very risky to trade your first-round pick that year after starting off 0-3, but Minkah was more than worth it. Obviously, it helped that the Dolphins missed out on the 2021 first-round pick, taking Austin Jackson, who had a very rough start to his career. He did have a good year number 4 in 2023, but has not been as good this year. So for Miami, I'm going to give this a D, just because instead of paying Minkah, and obviously they were tanking that season, they wanted to get Tua or a good quarterback in that 2020 draft. They traded Minkah Fitzpatrick when they didn't really have to, and just for one first-round pick doesn't look like it was worth it. And it doesn't help that Austin Jackson really wasn't worth a first-round pick either. And for the Pittsburgh Steelers, I'm going to be giving this an A grade. Obviously, it was a massive risk to be trading your first-round pick that year. That could have been a top 10 pick for Minkah Fitzpatrick, but Minkah has been elite as a safety for the Steelers. In 2019, he was the 9th graded safety out of 83. In 2020, he was number 11. He did have a down year in 2021, being the 73rd graded safety, but he was 3rd graded in 2022, 20th graded in 2023. Hasn't been great this year, but honestly has given more than the Steelers could have asked for as a safety for them. He ended up on the All-Pro first team in 2020, and then again in 2022. He also led the NFL in interceptions with 6 in 2022 as well. The Steelers would definitely do this trade in hindsight. And lastly, I want to talk about a wide receiver trade. So we started off this video talking about how the Tennessee Titans tried to replicate the version of this trade, and that was the Vikings trading away Stephon Diggs, their wide receiver 1, to Buffalo, along with a 2027th round pick in exchange for a 2020 first round pick, 22nd overall, and they took Justin Jefferson. They got a 2022 5th round pick, 2026th round pick, and a 2021 4th round pick. Now, none of those other players really turned into anything. It was basically Stephon Diggs for Justin Jefferson. For the Minnesota Vikings, this is an easy A+, because Justin Jefferson has been better for Minnesota than Stephon Diggs ever was, and honestly has peaked higher than Stephon Diggs has with the Buffalo Bills, as Jefferson had 1,400 yards as a rookie, 88 catches. He had 7 touchdowns as well, ended up finishing runner-up in Offensive Rookie of the Year voting. He was on an All-Pro second team. He followed up that season, All-Pro second team in 2021, and then All-Pro first team in 2022. He also won the Offensive Player of the Year award, where he had 128 catches, led the NFL, 1,809 yards, led the NFL, and 8 touchdowns. He had 1,000 yards again in 2023, and he's got 1,387 yards this year and counting with Sam Darnold on the Vikings. He is the best receiver in the NFL, or at least number 2, in my opinion right now, and he's still 25 years old, and you got elite production on a rookie contract as well when Stephon Diggs was due for a massive payday. And who knows if the Buffalo Bills would have taken Justin Jefferson with this pick, but for them, I'm giving it an A. I do think the Minnesota Vikings won this trade just so slightly, just because they got a younger and better wide receiver eventually, but Stephon Diggs was amazing in Buffalo. Obviously, it didn't end the way they wanted, but his first year in Buffalo, 127 catches, 1,535 yards, and 8 touchdowns. He was one of the best receivers in the league. He was on All-Pro first team. The following year in 2021, he had 1,225 yards. 2022, he had 1,429 yards. And in those 2 seasons, he had double-digit touchdowns. He had 1,000 yards again in 2023, but obviously it didn't end all that well, as he ended up getting traded to Houston in the 2024 offseason. And you can let me know, do you guys think the Buffalo Bills should have an A+ on that grade, or do you think it's fair to give the Vikings an A+ and the Bills an A? So that's gonna be it for me. Hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, I would appreciate you dropping a thumbs up. Let me know what you guys think of these trades down below, and let me know maybe any trades that I didn't bring up that you think I should have talked about. Let me know down below. Subscribe if you are not already, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.